From Al La Quinta saying Cerrone caused the loudest pop entering the octagon, to Joe Rogan having the perfect one-liner for the situation, this is how fighters reacted to Donald being inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame. For starters, many prominent fighters took to Twitter when reacting to the news. Social media was filled with congratulations and praise for Donald. After the announcement of his Hall of Fame induction made during the UFC San Antonio event, and let me tell you, fans and fighters couldn't be happier. Cowboy has made a huge impact on the sport, so it's no surprise that people are showing him some love. He's in good company too, with fellow legends Anderson Silva, Jose Aldo, and Jens Pulver already in the modern wing. BJ Penn congratulated the Cowboy and said that it's well-deserved. Many other fighters, including Rafael Dos Anjos, Tim Silva, Alan Jabon, Jamie Malarkey, congratulated him too. But that's not all. UFC even released a heartwarming montage prior to the induction. The video even shows McGregor's remarks towards Cerrone. It starts off with an interesting mix of clips introducing Donald, and then fighters give their impressions about Cerrone in between the clips. There's Al La Quinta, who said that whenever Donald enters the octagon, he'd always get the loudest pop. The fans really do love him. Then Brian Stann shows up in the video and says that Cerrone is someone who'd fight anyone, anytime, and anywhere. Now that's no small compliment, especially coming from Brian. Then comes the infamous Irishman. He's also quite impressed with Donald. McGregor praised Cowboy for his fearlessness in the octagon, and he went on to say that Cerrone's always willing to take on anyone. McGregor even acknowledged that Cerrone has taken some tough hits and never backed down. Plus, he's competed in different weight classes too. He has definitely respected Cowboy's grit and determination. But that's not even the end of all the praise he got, since Joe Rogan also had the best one-liner for Donald. He said that the guy is a bona fide, legit wild man in all aspects of his life. According to Joe, Donald isn't an act. What the people see is what he is. He even went on to say that they simply don't make him like Cowboy Cerrone anymore. That really must have been great to hear. Of course, the legendary Daniel Cormier also had his remarks reserved for Donald. He said, when a book is written and you're the coach and you're saying that you want to teach someone how to win a fight, you go and pull back Donald Cerrone's tape because that's all you're gonna need. Of course, the video doesn't just end there. It also included some extraordinary takedown clips from across Donald's career, and finally, it also had a bit of an emotional touch to really wrap things up nicely. But it's not just fighters who are reacting positively to the whole thing, because the fans seem to have loved his induction too. Fans have been showing some serious love for Cowboy Cerrone, and I totally get why. One fan said that he's truly earned his place in the HOF with a brutal career, always willing to take on any challenge and fight as often as his body would allow. Another fan had some good remarks too, saying that Cowboy had some great fights and stopped tough fighters. Plus, he was super cool and approachable with fans, and yet another fan praised Cowboy for his stance of accepting anything, anytime, anywhere, and hopes his influence spreads to newcomers who want to make a name for themselves. Some fans also couldn't stop talking about that McGregor fight at UFC 246. Although it was a bummer that it didn't last longer, it was so humbling to see the family man that Cerrone is with his wife, child, and grandma. And I've gotta say, the hype for the fight was insane. It was set up as one of the biggest in the promotion's history, and Cerrone put everything on the line. Sure, he may not have won in the end, but it's great to see such an iconic fight being one of the ones to round off his career. It's clear that the guy has a reputation for providing fans with fights that leave them at the edge of their seats. But the sad part is, Donald did receive some criticism on his induction from some fans and experts, with some people even asking if he's even a worthy inductee into the UFC Hall of Fame. Cerrone has been a staple in the UFC for over a decade, going head-to-head with some of the biggest names in the game, like Conor McGregor and Rafael Dos Anjos. But despite his impressive career, he's never actually been a champion in the UFC. Despite this, he was inducted inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame, and let's just say it has riled up some feathers. Of course, there are some people out there who are questioning whether he deserves the honor, but UFC fighter and commentator Dan Hardy isn't having any of that talk. He thinks it's a no-brainer that Cerrone should be inducted, and I have to say, I agree with him. Cerrone is a legendary fighter who's brought so much excitement to the sport and its fans. He's taken on short-notice fights and tough opponents. Plus, even when he's lost, he's always come back stronger. Unlike in other sports where stats can be everything, MMA is a relatively new sport. There's more to being a Hall of Famer than just having an impressive record. It's about the impact you've had on the sport and the fans, and Cerrone has definitely made his mark. Also, let's be real. Cerrone has probably fought more times than some NFL players have even played games. But you don't need to have a certain number of Super Bowls or Pro Bowls to be a UFC Hall of Famer. It's not all about the stats. It's about what you've contributed to the sport. And I think we all know Cerrone's impact on MMA has been massive. Donald may not have won any titles, but he certainly won the hearts of MMA fans around the world. And let's be real, isn't that the most important thing? Sean O'Connell thinks so, and he's not wrong. He stated that sometimes people get too caught up in stats and forget about the intangible impact a fighter can have on the sport. If you look at Cowboy's career, it's impossible to deny the excitement he brought to every fight, whether he won or lost. 20 years from now, people are looking back at the history of MMA. They'll remember Cowboy's fearless attitude and willingness to take on any challenge. They'll remember his signature cowboy hat and his love of beer. And they'll wonder why anyone ever questioned his induction into the UFC Hall of Fame. What makes him even more unique is the fact that he's a Hall of Fame contender without a title. Let's start with Hardy's observation that Cowboy Cerrone's Fight of the Night bonuses make him a quality fighter, even without a title win. I mean, he's tied for first all time on the UFC performance bonus chart, so that's gotta count for something, right? And according to Hardy, it's not just about the numbers, it's about the performances that earned those bonuses. Performances that will be remembered for years to come. Plus, as O'Connell said previously, what should really count when talking about who gets to be inducted into the Hall of Fame? Can you tell the story of the organization or sport without that person? If not, then Sean thinks they deserve a spot in the Hall of Fame. It's like, can you imagine telling the story of the UFC without Conor McGregor? Or how can you mention McGregor only with his record? A lot of other parts of Conor make him how he is, not only fighting. And when it comes to Cowboy Cerrone, it's the same deal. Can you tell the story of mixed martial arts from 2005 to 2023 without mentioning his name? Nope, not gonna happen. Cowboys left a mark on the sport that just can't be erased. And that's all there is to know about fighters reacting to Donald Cerrone's UFC Hall of Fame induction.